to a reading vlog in which I read 5 Riley Sager books and I decide if this is an author for me. So as some of you might know, this year I am working on reading down all of the books on my own TBR. I started this year out with over 340 books on my TBR and I'm making a lot of progress, but I do have 5 Riley Sager books on my shelves. I have never read one of his books before, but all of these were gifted to me, so I own them all, but I've never tried Riley Sager before. I don't actually know if this is all of his books or if he has more than this. I'm not sure, but I do know that this is a very popular author who is very hyped in the mystery thriller world. So yes, I'm very excited to be giving all of these books a try, seeing what I think of them, and overall, the whole point of this is reading down my TBR. But the first book I'm going to be reading for this vlog is, of course, The House Across the Lake. I gotta start off by getting 2 books off of my TBR. I gotta make some very quick early progress. This one is set at a lake. I believe it is following a widowed actress who is escaping the press by going to this lake house, and I'm assuming something happens. Alright guys, I have made it about 80 pages through The House on the Lake, and I can tell you now a bit more what it's about. So we are following our main character, Casey, who has recently lost her husband. They got married really quick and they were celebrating at their little lake house when he ends up drowning. This is like the very beginning of the book, so I'm not like spoiling anything. And after that occurs, Casey ends up getting into a very bad drinking habit, and since she is a pretty well-known actor, she has a lot of press following her around, and her family ends up sending her back to the lake house where everything happened, and she's sort of just like hiding out there. But she has these very rich, famous neighbors across the lake who she is spying on. And, you know, she has a couple other neighbors that are also characters in the book, but basically she's just spying on these very rich neighbors of hers and sort of just, I'm going to assume she's an unreliable narrator just because she has a very heavy drinking problem. So definitely don't read this book if you are sensitive to any sort of alcoholism, because that is very prevalent in this book. But the way that it is described in this book, basically the only actions that our character does is drink. It's constantly describing her pouring drinks into glasses, adding ice, you know, taking a sip, putting the glass down. Just very repetitive of her constant drinking, and like I know that's like part of her character, but it does sort of bog the book down. Like I'm only 80 pages and it's already starting to annoy me. I will say that this book does read pretty fast. I have read 83 pages already today and it's only been just like over an hour. So I am reading it pretty fast, and I do appreciate that in a thriller to like constantly be fast moving. I will say it is still early, and if this book continues to just be our main character drinking and spying on her neighbors, I might get a little bored just because I need things to constantly be happening and keeping me on edge in order for me to like this kind of story. So we shall see how that goes. But I am actually going to this little garden place tomorrow, and there's like a lot of water there. So I might just try and read a bit of this book there. And yeah, maybe I'll update while I'm there, but I'll probably just like update you the next day. But yeah, I did start this and I'm really intrigued to keep going. And I think it will be fun to read it at like a body of water since this takes place on a lake. But yeah, that's my little update for now. So I probably inserted some clips of my time at the gardens. That was really fun. I went with my mom. We had a very enjoyable time, very chill, very relaxed. It was very hot, but we tried to go like as soon as they opened, so like we weren't like dying of heat until like we left the place. But either way, it was really fun. I didn't read too much while I was there, obviously, because I don't know. I was just hanging out with my mom. I did read some. I'm about 100 pages into The House Across the Lake now, and we have gotten somewhere now with the story. There's also like these before and after type pages, so it does like go back and forth in time, and that's definitely not my favorite thing that books do. I do think the now sections are my favorite, just because like the before sections, again, it's just her drinking a lot, and yeah, I just the now sections just have a bit more to keep me interested in them. But we'll see how that whole dynamic plays out. Today I have been doing a lot of schoolwork, but I have my nail appointment in about an hour, and so I am going to spend the next hour reading this and seeing how much progress I can make in it. Hopefully a lot, but we shall see. So it is the next day. I did go and get my nails done last night, but today I spent this morning finishing The House Across the Lake, and honestly I am very pleasantly surprised by this book. It did what I wanted a thriller to do. I did give it 3.5 stars. It wasn't like the perfect book. Obviously some things at the beginning did bother me. However, the time jumps between like before and now, I actually didn't mind it too much in this story, and while it did at the end kind of throw off like the timeline and where we were and kind of got confusing, I will say having those bits thrown throughout the book did sort of bring those plot twists into play, which I really enjoyed. One thing that brought my rating down, I was originally going to give this book 4 stars, is the fact that one of the twists was a bit of a paranormal twist, and I just wasn't into that. I feel like it kind of came out of left field. I don't know, it just threw off the vibe of the story in my opinion. But yeah, this one actually really shocked me with how much I enjoyed it and was actually shocked by all the different things going on. So yeah, this one I really enjoyed. Obviously this one was not a new favorite, but it did make me excited enough to want to continue with this vlog and read the rest of the books that I have by this author. So yeah, very pleasantly surprised. And I do have the paperback and the hardback versions of this book. Again, I don't know why I have both copies, but either way, both of them are off of my TBR. I have read them, and that's such great progress for me. But let's go into the next book. So the one I'm picking up next is the one with this messed up cover, but it is The Last Time I Lied, and this is the one that takes place at a summer camp. So we are once again in this like very secluded setting. I wonder if it's also going to take place at a lake, just because I feel like most summer camps in like books and movies are based at like a lake, so I'm very curious about that, if there will be like that parallel between the one I just read and this one. But yeah, I am really excited to dive into this one. I'm just over 50 pages of the way through this book, so let me tell you guys what it's about. So we are following our main character who 15 years ago, she attended this summer camp and her 3 cabin mates end up going missing, and so that is the last time she saw them. And it is now 15 years later, and she is an artist, and she gets contacted by the old camp director to go back to this camp and be an art teacher there. And this is going to be the first time that this camp has been opened since these girls went missing, and our main character has a lot of feelings about this for very obvious reasons. But she is going to be staying in the same cabin that she did as a kid, and that's sort of where I'm at in this book so far. Truthfully, I think this book just isn't gripping me the same way as the previous one, is just because they're very similar stories. Also, I was correct that this camp is set on a lake, so there is that similarity between the 2 books, but overall we just have this sort of unreliable narrator. At least our main character is making herself out to be a very unreliable person. She's not an alcoholic like our previous main character, but just the way she sort of talks about the events, I I don't know. I'm not sure how to feel about her so far, but this book also has time jumps, and like I had mentioned, I'm not the biggest fan of time jumps, and the reason why it worked with me for The House Across the Lake is just that it added a lot to the story. That was where all the twist and everything came from. But this one, I'm just not feeling that so far. Every time we go back 15 years, I just don't really care. It's sort of just taking me out of the story. But yeah, I will say this book is just feeling very samey and sort of repetitive to the last one that I read. I'm not sure which one of these books came out first, so it might be wrong of me to say that this book is similar to that one because I don't know which one was released first, but I think also I just should have chosen one of the other books that had a very different setup, like one of the ones that was giving me like more horror vibes. But yeah, either way, I'm reading this one. We're gonna see how it goes. I probably won't update you guys again until I finish this one, but yeah, I definitely so far would put this one under The House Across the Lake. I just finished filming my September wrap up, but I am here to tell you about The Last Time I Lied. So I finished this book, and I know there was a rocky start at the beginning, but I actually ended up giving this one 4 stars. I really like this one. The only thing I have to complain about is the mental health sort of representation in this book. I really don't like when books use mental health as sort of a crux to make a character unreliable. However, I really enjoyed like the overall plot of this book. Really, that our main character was just dealing with her own mental health by herself. It wasn't necessarily a big part of the overall plot until the end, just like one certain scene. So yeah, that is a main thing that sort of rubbed me the wrong way. But other than that, I really enjoyed this book. It really surprised me. I liked the twist and the turns, and honestly, like the flashbacks and stuff, while they also were not my favorite, I sort of, I guess, didn't mind them towards the middle of the book. After that, they stopped, so, I mean, it is what it is, but I don't know. This was just like one of those books where I didn't necessarily want to put it down. I kept wanting to read and see what happened. So because of that, it gets 4 stars. Because I liked it so much, it is going to go above The House Across the Lake in my little rankings that I'm going to do. I'm going to rank all 5 of these books against each other. And yeah, I definitely like it a bit more than The House Across the Lake. So yeah, that is a nice, pleasant surprise, but we are 2 books down. So I took the dust jacket off of it, but I did start Home Before Dark, and this one I am about 100 pages into so far, so I am making good progress on that one, but I'm really enjoying it so far. Like, I'm very intrigued to see what happens. This one doesn't necessarily have flashbacks, however, in between each chapter that we are getting like chapters of another book. So in this one, we follow our main character, Maggie, who is the daughter to an author who wrote a very infamous haunted house book, and she really hates this book. It causes a lot of problems in her life because everyone knows her as the 5-year-old in this book, and she just does not remember anything that happened. Her father wrote this book to be this sort of true haunted house, that the house they were in was really haunted, and yeah, that's sort of the overall premise. So at the beginning of this book, when we meet our main character, we find out that her dad has passed away and has left her all of the stuff, and she finds out that her dad has been holding on to this house the entire time, and she didn't know about it. She thought they had sold it and got rid of it because obviously her parents never talk about it, but according to this book, it was this super scary, traumatizing time in their lives being in this house. So she was very surprised that she now inherited it. But when she goes to talk to her mom is very adamant that she give the house to her and just like sell the house to her, like never step foot in the house. And obviously our main character doesn't listen. So where I'm currently at in the book, she is going to go to this house, and because our main character is I want to say like a renovator, she like works with someone else to like flip houses and stuff. So that is what she plans to do with this haunted house. And yeah, that is where I'm at in the book, and I'm very intrigued to see how it goes. I am enjoying like our main story and the actual book version of it, so that is again like another like surprising thing, because I usually don't like that, which I feel like saying that for all three of these books now, it makes it seem like I'm lying, but like honestly I really don't like it when books do that. But I guess when Riley Sager does it, I don't really mind, which sure, okay, we love an author who can make me like something that I don't like in books, sure. But yeah, I'm very intrigued to see if this house is actually haunted or not, see what's actually going on. And yeah, I'm very intrigued about like everything. So this was the one that I had the highest hopes for, so hopefully we get a 5-star read out of this vlog. It has actually been a while since I finished this book, and I just never got around to updating you guys because it is midterm time for me, so I've been very busy with school. But I have finished this book and I actually give it 4.5 stars. I thought this was such a great book. It is so spooky, and I was just like pleasantly surprised by this book. I will say, from the 3 books by Riley Sager that I have now read, there is one like detail that he always includes in his books, and I said it when I was reading the Housemaid trilogy that I really don't like this formulaic sort of thing. And in the Housemaid trilogy, I caught it very early, and it took me 3 books to figure out what Riley Sager does in his books, and that is that he always presents this male character as a possible love interest. Obviously, these are not romance books, there's no actual romance in them, but he always has this male character that is a possible romantic relationship for our main character. And then like there's a twist where it's like maybe this guy is actually a bad guy, and then twist, he actually isn't. And that has been in all 3 of these books. So when I noticed that in this book, it kind of brought my enjoyment of it down, just because I really didn't like it, especially in this book, just that specific character. It was kind of jumbled together, I don't know. But I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it. But either way, I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed our character. And honestly, I didn't guess the ending to this book or what the actual thing would be. So I really like that. I don't know. Just something about this book and the creepiness of it just really worked for me. And again, this was the one that I had predicted to be the one I enjoyed the most. And so far I'm correct. I do have 2 more left to read. But I just thought this one was great. And maybe that's because this one is the most horror-based instead of like a mystery thriller. So maybe that's why I enjoyed it the most. But I don't know. Something about this just really worked for me. So adding that to my little stack, it is now my favorite, followed by The Last Time I Lied, and then followed by The House Across the Lake. So each book is just getting better than the last. So that makes me really excited for the last 2 books that I have to read. And then I did start Survive the Night. This is just the dust jacket. My goal is to actually finish this book today. I'm only 50 pages into it, but I don't really have much to do today, so my goal is to read the entire book today. So in this one, we're following our main character, Charlie, and she is leaving college to go back home because her sister ends up passing away. I believe she was murdered by some unknown person, like the police still haven't solved it or something. And so she is getting this sort of ride share with this stranger, and that is sort of all we know so far. But I'm very intrigued by this one because it seems like it's going to be a very secluded type of thriller where it's just these 2 characters in a car together. And yeah, that's very interesting. However, our main character does take medication, or she hasn't been taking her medication. In the very beginning of the book, she is throwing these pills down the drain because she doesn't want to take them anymore. But again, I say this every single time, I really hate when we have a character who is in like these mystery thriller situations where they're an unreliable character just because they have mental health issues. It makes me very uncomfortable to read about. So hopefully that's not something that this book does, but it is something I noticed since she is supposed to be on this medication, and she goes to a therapist and all this because her sister died. So we shall see how that ends up playing out. So it's been like an hour since I last updated you guys about Survive the Night. And I have made it to page 117. And I'm gonna go ahead and DNF this one. I really do not like it. My original problem with it being about our main character Charlie having these mental health issues. So basically she ends up seeing these movies in her head, and so while she's in the car with this guy who she believes is the one who murdered her best friend. Also, I think before when I was telling you about this, I said it was her sister. It's her best friend, but either way, she believes that this guy that she's stuck in this car with is the killer. And the entire thing plays on she doesn't know what's real and what isn't. She is constantly having these movies play out in her head, and he knows this. So the whole thing is like, is she actually seeing the truth, or, you know, is he just using her sort of movies that are playing in her head as like a way to manipulate her? But yeah, I don't like that. I don't like mental health being used in thriller books as a plot device. I don't like that to be what makes a character unreliable. So yeah, that's what this entire thing is. Everything that you read, it's like, we don't know if it's true or not, and I just find it very annoying. I don't think mental health should be used as a plot device, and so yeah, I am DNFing this one. Definitely not a fan. And so that means the last book I have to read for this little project is The Only One Left, which I think is quite funny because this is the only book I have left to read. So I'm going to start this one and update you guys later with it. This one is a lot bigger than Survive the Night, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish this one today. It is 400 pages, but we will see how much I get rid of this one today. And yeah, hopefully this one works a lot better because I had a 4.5 star read and then I have a DNF, so I don't really know how this is gonna go. I don't know what to expect from this one, but let's go ahead and try it out. Sorry if all of my lighting in these recent clips have been really bad, but it is so gloomy and rainy here in Florida, so I don't have much natural light to work with, but I have made it about 50 pages into The Only One Left. So we are following our main character, Kit, who recently got suspended from her caregiving job, but she is now back working, and the assignment she was given is to go to this woman's house who recently had a stroke to help take care of her. This woman who had the stroke, her name is Lenora Hope, and she is this sort of infamous person in their town. She was accused of murdering her entire family. She was never convicted for it because there was not enough proof, but everyone in the town thinks that she did it, and she has sort of hidden herself away in her house, never to be seen by anyone. So our main character, Kit, is going to live in this house with her to be her caretaker. And that's pretty much what this story is about so far. But where I'm at currently, we are following our main character into this very big mansion, meeting all of the other staff who also work in this house, and she recently just met Lenora. This book also does have alternating chapters where certain chapters are written from the point of view of Lenora, who's like writing out her story, I guess. We haven't gotten too much into that, so I don't know. Obviously that's also like Riley Sager's thing, is like having these extra flashback kind of chapters in his books. So we'll see how that goes, but yeah, I mean, I don't really have too many opinions on this one. I'm not overly enjoying it, but I'm not hating it so far, so we shall see how this one goes. Alright, I have finished The Only One Left, and I'm giving it a solid 3.5 star rating. It was a very mid-book. So like I had mentioned, this book is following our main character who goes to take care of this woman who is accused of these murders back in the day. And so our main character is very skeptical and is kind of hesitant to go take care of this woman, but that's like her job, so she's doing it anyways. And now she is there trying to figure out what really happened all those years ago. And honestly, a lot of this book I just found very boring. Our main character is basically just a caregiver. She's doing the day-to-day routine stuff with this woman, and I don't know, I just found a lot of it to be very mundane and boring. And honestly, the twist at the end were also not surprising. It's not that I necessarily guessed them, I just wasn't surprised by them, and I found a lot of things a little confusing, and I don't know. Something about the ending of it and the reveals just really didn't work for me. I also don't like the epilogue kind of thing, and I say that because it's not really an epilogue. Like, it doesn't have the words epilogue, but it's clearly taking place like after the events. But I don't know, something about that was just also very weird. I don't know, but either way, this one is a solid 3.5-star read. It's not bad by any means. I'm glad I still read this one and got it off my TBR, and yeah, I think this one can definitely work for a lot of people. It just wasn't really my thing. So here is how I would rate it. It's basically just dab smack in the middle of this stack, but for a reference, this top one, Home Before Dark, I gave 4.5 stars. Then the last time I lied, I gave 4 stars. The only one left, I gave 3.5 stars. The House Across the Lake? Yeah, I gave that one 3.5 stars as well. However, I would say the only one left I liked a little bit more, just because I don't really like an unreliable narrator. That's just not a trope I like. So the only one left is going above that one. And then I did DNF Survive the Night. But this is my final ranking of these 5 books. So this is an interesting project because I did get a 4.5-star read out of it, but I also ended up DNFing one. So I don't know. Riley Sager is obviously an author that can either really work for me or really not. And I definitely feel like his horror adjacent stuff works a lot better for me than like his clear thriller type books. And so he is definitely an author that I would read from again. He's just one that I would definitely need to look into what the book is about to decide if it's one I would enjoy. Because if he ever writes more horror stuff like Home Before Dark, I would definitely be interested in picking it up, because this was almost a perfect book for me, which is honestly really exciting. So yeah, I would say that this project overall was a success. I ended up getting 6 books off of my TBR because one of them was like I had 2 copies of it, so I read 5 books but got 6 off of my TBR. And I'll have like the counter somewhere on the screen of how many books are left on my physical TBR, but I'm making such great progress and that makes me so happy. So I would call this vlog a success. I got a 4.5-star read out of it. I decided I do like Riley Sager as an author and I would pick up more of his works. So yeah, I would say that this vlog is a success, which makes me really happy. I was very nervous that I wouldn't enjoy his books and they'd all be like very mid for me, but I did get one that I really enjoyed and almost made it to my favorites of the year. So yeah, that's really exciting. But let me know if you guys have read any books by Riley Sager, what your favorites are, like what you think of his books in general. And if you don't want to do that, you can leave me a spooky emoji, maybe like a knife or like a blood emoji, just for the spooky, thrillery vibes. But thank you guys so much for making it this far into the video. If you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, comment whatever you feel like commenting, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!